Oh man, now we're into it. And thus begins the mad reign of Uwe Boll, a German director who funds his movies with Nazi gold and seems oblivious to the low quality of his work, to the point where at one point he took part in an event where he boxed his critics, and as he's a trained boxer, after beating the living shit out of them, said that this proved that his movies were good. Yes, he's that delusional. Up until now, I hadn't actually seen an Uwe Boll movie, so I approached House of the Dead with some curiosity. Surely it would be interesting to see exactly how bad it is, and boy was it. House of the Dead is based off of the Sega game of the same name, allegedly. The game is a light gun rail shooter from the first-person view, and you fight off zombies, demons, and eldritch abominations with your gun. It almost always centers around a mansion, hence the title House of the Dead. There have been 4 of them in the main series and several spin-offs. The games themselves are sort of like B-movies, with over-the-top plots and ridiculous voice acting. However, Uwe Boll pretty much threw all of that out of the window and just elected to loosely rip off the plot of Zombie 2, the Italian horror film. I've heard that House of the Dead doesn't actually have a house, and for the most part that's true, although there is a house on the island that the characters wind up at the end having their last stand in. Most of the film is set outdoors, which is hilarious. It's like he not only ignored the plot of the games, but also the name, the setting, and, well, pretty much everything. The only thing left over is, oddly enough, clips of the game, which play during action scenes. It's weird for so many reasons. First, the clips of gameplay that mix in with the live action almost never match up. Oftentimes, characters will be fighting zombies outdoors, and the gameplay clips will be from a dungeon or a hallway. Only at the point where the characters are in sewers do the video game clips actually match up, but it doesn't help that it's so obvious that the flashes you're seeing are from a video game, including messages flashing across the screen such as reload, free play, and press start. It doesn't add anything to the film, but instead takes away from it greatly. You can't lose yourself in the action, when every few minutes badly chosen action clips from a video game pop up. The basic plot is that a few young people were all set to go on a rave on some island. There's some narration at the beginning setting up each character, but it ceases to matter very quickly, as what's said by one character could easily be said by any other. They're all literally the same person. They apparently miss the boat to their rave, and instead hire a fishing boat to take them, except it's not just a fishing boat, but a smuggling boat, so they're also being followed by a federal agent. The people who had arrived on the island on time were all attacked by zombies, and wind up hiding out in the house. But the latecomers mostly just wander around, drink, wonder where everyone is at, and flash their tits at you. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Anyway, eventually the zombies attack, and eventually the latecomers do get to the house, but this only happens at the end of the movie. By then you learn that this is all the fault of this one guy who has perfected an immortality potion a few hundred years ago, and who's still hanging around creating zombies, and killing people for their parts. There's a struggle, the surviving chick at the end gets shot in the chest with some sort of harpoon, but she manages to smush the head zombie's head, killing him, and the surviving guy has her drink the potion so she won't die from the harpoon wound, and then they're rescued by more federal agents. It's a weak zombie movie at best. The action is stilted and tries hard to be The Matrix with slow-motion panning and zooming. When they start fighting zombies, all of a sudden all these young adults who came to party and dance and drink and fuck all become zombie-killing experts, dispatching dozens of the undead with hand-to-hand combat and expert gunplay. But it's also bland that it doesn't matter. As a movie based on House of the Dead, it really has nothing in common with the series at all. And later on, Uwe Boll weaseled out of this by claiming that it was a prequel to the games, though I'm sure Sega would have a few words to say about that, with how bad this is. It's a wonder that Uwe Boll continued to make films, and he continued to make films based on video games, no less. Even at one point, due to popular demand, he promised that he'd stop making video game movies. But of course that turned out to be bullshit. You'd think that when the entire internet is begging for you to stop making movies, that you'd realize you're pretty bad at it. But it seems that Boll takes himself pretty seriously. As for his debut, it's not as bad as it could have been. It's boring, dull, lifeless, derivative, and hopelessly broken by the sad choice to include video game footage in the movie. But I've seen worse in my time. It's bad, but it's not Blackenstein bad. I'm going to give House of the Dead a 3 out of 10. It might seem generous, but I have a feeling that it can get worse.